Hey there, y'all. Welcome back to the podcast. My name's Anna Nichols, human design mentor and business strategist. And today we are going to talk about how to get paid to fulfill your life purpose. And this is such a important topic. I think all of the topics on this podcast are important, but why I want to talk about this topic specifically is that there are a lot of ways to get money. There's a lot of ways to grow a business. There's a lot of ways to get paid, whether that's through a job, through investments, through all of the different ways that you can get paid. And this idea of getting paid to fulfill your life purpose, I actually think is a fundamental catalyst in understanding this in order for you to grow a business that you truly love, that feels easy, feels aligned, and that you are actually getting paid for. And I'm going to actually share with you how my entrepreneurial journey started to give you a sense of why, yes, people can make money, grow a business, or all of these different things and get paid to have any kind of business, but how important it is and how impactful it is when you start to actually use your business to help you fulfill your life purpose, how much more fun it is, how much easier it is, and how much more you are actually able to get paid because of how you're showing up when your business is aligned with your life purpose. So, once upon a time, I got my undergraduate degree in finance and accounting. And it was really interesting. I had always had this thought in my mind that I wanted to learn how to make my money work for me and not work for my money. So I studied investments, I studied accounting, really wanting to understand how money worked in that traditional sense before I went and got my master's degree. Upon graduating with my undergrad, I went to get a job as a financial advisor. And the model that this company that I was working for used is essentially commission based. There was a little bit of income to support you while you were first getting started, but essentially you were out there as an entrepreneur, going out there and getting clients to want to buy your services, right? And in this specific scenario, I was selling different types of investment packages, something that I wholeheartedly believe in and currently have and have invested in throughout my life. But in that moment, that's what I was selling, right? It was a tangible product, just like, or service, right? Product and service, the service of me helping pick out investments for people, but then also the product of what the actual investment looks like. And what's so interesting about this is I remember when I was first getting started in that business and in entrepreneurship and in the local communities, very often, depending on the type of business that you're doing, especially service-based businesses, but you're knocking on people's doors and telling them that you have something to sell. There once upon a time, right, that was vacuum cleaners. And in this scenario, it was investment options and packages. But realtors have done this, mortgage professionals, solar professionals, like Girl Scouts, right? That there are people out there knocking on your door to sell you something. And it's really fascinating because this was like my first true independent go at entrepreneurship. Before that, I was helping my parents with their brick and mortar business and their friends with their businesses, but they were already established. This was me trying to create something on my own. And why I share this story with you is because in that season of my entrepreneurial journey, I was just trying to make money. And right, I was going out wanting to, yes, sell something, add value to people, but ultimately the goal was to get clients so that I could get money. And it's so fascinating. I was in my early 20s when this happened, so a long time ago. And I remember knocking on people's doors and I'd get sent out for eight hours a day in the beginning to just go knock on people's doors. And I was so uncomfortable with what I was doing that I remember I did it for a couple of days and not even the full 8 hours. I would walk around neighborhoods because I was so nervous to get out there and talk to people, that eventually I stopped trying, and I would just sit in my car and cry for most of the day, and then go back and say, oh, nobody wanted to work with me, or nobody wanted the service that I had to offer. And it's interesting because in that season of my life, I had a lot of like external things telling me that maybe I wasn't made for entrepreneurship, but also I had a lot of internal things telling me that I wasn't good enough, that what I had to offer wasn't valuable. And it wasn't even the financial services, it was me and the fear that I wasn't good enough or I wasn't smart enough. And it's so fascinating how these stories are rooted in our minds as we go out there to try to sell something, to try to grow businesses, because this thing is something I believe in. And I'm going to get to life purpose here in a little bit, but I want to point this out. I fundamentally, wholeheartedly believe in using investments as a way to get paid and do all the things, right? And I personally invest and encourage people and refer people to my financial advisor, because that attempt only lasted me about 2 months. I loved the person I was learning from, realized that was not for me, but it is something I still cared about, believed in, and there was still something missing. I wasn't so like involved, so called to share that specific thing with people, that essentially I gave up. I got a job. And now looking back, I totally understand all of the lessons, all of the skills that I picked up along the way were absolutely valuable and important. But it's really funny. So that was in my early 20s. Approximately 10 years later, after I had worked in higher education for a long time, leadership, like growing the student body, helping like really communicate with people and getting people to pay their bills and all the different things. There's a lot, and probably a whole different episode on that experience. But I then decided again, I was going to go out into entrepreneurship. And I knew this because with my parents having businesses, like I had always known I was going to be an entrepreneur. I always knew I wanted to help people. And working in that corporate space, working for somebody else, it was so fascinating because now I see how my life purpose, how my human design was showing up in that part of my life before I even actually understood anything about human design. But I wasn't doing it in the way I was meant to do it. I didn't have the freedom to do what I wanted to do. So I decided then I was going to try again in entrepreneurship. And this was about 3 years ago. And what's so funny, between my attempt to be a financial advisor and then my next sort of like jump into entrepreneurship, which was not planned. I had a little bit of a plan, but more than anything, I again was starting because I needed to make money, right? I had quit my job and I got my real estate license, and I was starting to do some coaching because I felt like, all right, I could do both of these things. I'm a smart, capable person. And these are just two different revenue streams that I can be bringing into my business without like consciously thinking about why I was doing either of them, how it was all going to be working together. I was just out there trying to make money. And what's important about this part of the story is 10 years later, I was being taught when I was entering into entrepreneurship, entering into real estate, that the same tactics, the same ways to sell, the same ways to get people to pay, right? Knocking on doors, all of these like business things, which are valid things, right? The whole point of knocking on doors is to essentially, if you think in the online space, right, it's to get people to know who you are. It's to start building your audience, just getting some of that exposure out there. And I thought it was fascinating that 10 years later, I was being taught the same thing. And that somewhere in my mind, I had grasped that this is the way to make money, right? The way that all these really successful people that I'm watching in my local world, that's the way I'm meant to make money. That's the way people are successful in business. That's the way like I'm seeing all of these other people make the kind of money I want to make. So I need to go do those things. And lo and behold, here we go again, 10 years later, knocking on people's doors and crying in my car. And it's really funny because now it's funny, 3 years ago, it was not as funny. But I realized that having this experience, like part of my human design and all these things, like this was a lesson I didn't learn 10 years prior. I needed to finish learning it, which was that trying to start a business, trying to run a business for the sake of making money is not what makes one successful. There has to be something more to it. There has to be something bigger to it. And in that season, I remember trying to build relationships with people to sell houses, as well as building relationships with people to do leadership and business coaching. And it was interesting how the leadership and business coaching was so much easier for me. The relationships were easier to build. The way I was communicating with people was easier, and it felt more fun. And I was getting clients slowly but surely. I was getting clients, but I was diverting my attention and my energy into way too many places at that time. So realizing, okay, I need to start to focus maybe, or I'm burning myself out. I probably should stop crying in my car. And it's so interesting because that first step, that first decision of saying, okay, I need to really hone in on what it is that I am good at and what I'm meant to do, because I did feel a calling to help people grow their leadership skills, help people grow their businesses. Being raised by two entrepreneurs, like having a family business, I know the value of that. I know the freedom that brings you, and I know the work it takes to do that. And so I was out there helping people do this. And it's really fascinating because at that moment, as I was really starting to get clients and build my business, I realized again that there was something missing. There's something that I didn't quite have. So it was about a year into coaching local businesses that I went into the online space. And that's where I presume most of you who are listening have found me or have connected with me, which is its own whole beast of business. And there is a lot of the same concepts, right? All of the same basic concepts of business apply, but how you market yourself might look different. The way that you deliver your offers looks different. All of these things, they feel different, but at the end of the day, we're doing the basic things of marketing, selling, delivering, right, our services to people, building relationships. And being in the online space, what was so fascinating that was different than the local space is that in my local world, I was being taught the same thing. This is the one way to go build your business. And in the online space, it was interesting because everyone had their own way. Or maybe not everyone, but there are certain ways, and everyone was saying that was the best way. And so coming from this traditional education in business, right, having an MBA, helping local businesses through my parents, through their friends, through the different avenues I had helped local businesses grow, I realized that this concept of growing your business and making money obviously was at the forefront because as entrepreneurs, as people, right, we have to pay our bills, we have to want to take care of our family, all of these things. But that truly the catalyst of success was having something bigger than yourself that you are attached to, that you're trying to do in the world, that you're wanting to bring to the world, that you're wanting to see in the world, that you want to be a part of creating. And when people started to actually look at what does my business do and how am I doing it, and all of the coaching that I have done with people, at its root, we got past the deliverables, we got past the offers, right? We got past the marketing to what is it that I'm truly doing? Why am I doing this? And what's so valuable about human design is that before human design, there's a lot of guesswork. There's a lot of hoping. There's a lot of wondering. Is this the right thing? Is this not the right thing? And then leaning into human design, learning it, understanding it, like that allowed all of the stormy clouds to clear and really help you figure out what it is that you are meant to do. What is your life purpose? And then lean into that so that you can get paid well, paid consistently, because you love what you do so deeply. And at a universal level, when you are actually doing what you were designed to do, then the universe is helping you out. It is bringing clients to you. It is giving you the confidence that you need. It's putting you in the right programs that you need to learn the skill that you need, or the right experiences that you need to have the growth that you're needing in this season. And I share all of this because over the 3 years of my most recent entrepreneurship, there have been seasons where I had coaches tell me that I was really good at the no sell, which essentially means, right, like people would just be asking me about how to work with me. And it's fascinating because I was putting myself out there, I was building up my business. But if I reflected on the clients that I got the easiest ways, the things that I did in my business that were the most fun, they all connected to very similar themes, similar things that were related to my human design, my life purpose, which is my incarnation cross, and a lot of the components of my chart, because that's what I'm meant to do. That's who I'm meant to be. And even before we become like the best marketers and have the biggest businesses, the thing that you're meant to do in your life, whether you're doing it in your business, whether you're doing it in your job, whether you're doing it in your family, like that is the thing you've been designed to do. And it's going to be natural. It's going to feel easy. And the people that are meant for you are going to be attracted to you no matter what, whether that is in that job space, in your life, in your business. And this idea of attracting clients and getting paid for fulfilling your life purpose, right? We need to be intentional and strategic and thoughtful on how we build that business. But if the root of it is so that you can help people and do this thing that you have been uniquely designed to do, then the world, the universe is going to help you be successful in that. And in actuality, in practicality in our businesses, when you're doing that, you're showing up way more confidently. You are honestly like just being yourself, and that is magnetic in and of itself. What offers you're creating, you're more excited about creating them. You're more willing to do what it takes, even if we're pushing ourselves out of our comfort zones. So let's just be clear here. Just because we're doing things that are aligned for us doesn't mean that they're always comfortable. For me, and I'm certain probably for so many of you, doing things that are in alignment for us, like resting for projectors or moving fast for manigens or being bold for manifestors or taking it slow and building the foundation for generators, or allowing yourself to fully reflect and show people the way, if you're a reflector, like really owning these parts of ourselves, all of the different parts of our human design often feels so uncomfortable because we have not been raised in a world that understands that and that recognizes that. And in this world, in the one that you're listening to in this podcast, and the one that I want to be a part of, that we are a part of together, that embraces human design, that embraces our uniqueness, doing that in our business is fundamentally important. And being able to sift through all of the things that are possible, all of the strategies that are an option for you, and picking the ones that are truly aligned with you and your life purpose and all of the different parts of your human design, that is how you're going to get paid in the, I believe, the most easy way. That's how you're going to get paid in the most fulfilling way. And all of it is because you are being who you are truly meant to be. You are doing what you've been designed to do. And we are being intentional about how we build that into your business. not just your life purpose, but every single part of you. And something important that I want you to take away from this and really ground this into how you're imagining you're going to practically apply this in your business. Of the 192 incarnation crosses, which is the life purpose in human design, there are people with the same incarnation cross, but that can fulfill a very different have a very different business, but still have the same life purpose. And I want to give you an example of this to really ground in how we use this important part of your design in order to help you get paid. So the example that I'm going to use is the right angle cross of the vessel of love. I have quite a few different people in my world that have the same incarnation cross, which this pro tip here, this is something called your fractal line. When you see a lot of people that have a very like similarities in their human design that are hanging out with you, there's a reason for that. So like start paying attention if you do readings, or if you get to see people's charts, or even if you notice things that are in common with people. But I thought this was really fascinating to see that I had quite a lot of people, friends, like literally two of my very best friends that are not even in entrepreneurship, several of my clients, friends I've made in the online space. And I want to give you a couple of examples of the businesses that these people are building and how their life purpose is directly influencing what it is that they're creating. So one person that I've worked with, she started out originally building a business for the sake of making money. Online, she heard about, oh, you could do this thing, create content, and soon you'll be making 10K months overnight, right? Like the standard online, some of the online things that you hear. And when we were looking at her human design chart and found out that she is the right angle cross of the vessel of love, which means that she's going on a personal journey to love herself and then to share love and spread love with others, right? That job, although she could have, or that business of creating content, she could have done all of this stuff around it and maybe made money, but she wasn't called to it. She wasn't drawn to it, even when she was doing it, which is why she got a coach. And then understanding her human design, what truly came out of that was that she desired to actually be a coach. And you're listening to this and you might be a coach and you're like, oh, there's coaches everywhere. And yes, and this particular person had it in her mind that she didn't have the right degrees or the right certifications or the right whatever, and that she couldn't be a coach, even though that's something that she deeply wanted. And it's something that I saw in her chart. And when we had a conversation about it, she said, that's exactly what I would want to do, but I can't because. And we worked together. The best part of the story is that she took that leap of faith, right? Got certified in some coaching modalities to build up her confidence, but also really the root of her life purpose is not only to love herself, but to help other people love themselves. And with the type of person that she is, she's also a 5/1. So doing that research, right? Gaining that information was so important for her to be able to fulfill that. She built a business helping women like that are in transitions in their lives, that are going through maybe being empty nesters, like really having these internal identity crises of who they are meant to be and what they're going to be next, right? Who they have been in the past and what they're going to be next. And it's so fascinating exploring this because this person that has this right angle cross of the vessel of love, when she was trying to build a business solely for the sake of making money and without really taking into consideration her life purpose, her human design, all of the different things, she wasn't getting where she wanted to go. And once she started, the trajectory, the momentum, all of the things that she was building, that she was wanting, were moving so much more quickly because she was in alignment. And then she started to get client after client that was interested in working with her, that started working with her because she spoke about that experience of coming from her incarnation cross and really helping people love themselves, loving herself on the way. And it's such a beautiful thing. And the way that she speaks about it, she speaks with emotion. She speaks at a higher vibration because it's in alignment with who she is and what she is meant to do. And so she could have kept banging her head on the wall, trying to build a business and make money doing something that, yes, a lot of people might be successful in doing. But if it wasn't aligned for her, and for you too, if you're listening, and I presume that if you're still here and you listen to this podcast, you truly believe that there's something inside of you you're meant to do, that you're meant to contribute to the world to make it a better place in a unique way. And figuring out what that is and leaning into it and applying it into your business, that is how you get paid to fulfill your life purpose. I want to give you a different example because this is a person who maybe wasn't necessarily on the right path, didn't understand her human design, and had to do some work around it to get in alignment so she could start getting paid. Another person that I know that has this same incarnation cross has been very much like in that season, loving herself, like loving your body, helping women do that. And that was already her business. But what was so fascinating is she also didn't know that was her incarnation cross, but that was so natural and normal for her that she didn't recognize the value and importance of it in the business that she was building. So she had a couple of like coaching containers, right? She had been in various programs online also and built up different things the way that we see often in the online space. And not to say that any of those things are bad, right? The first person built out a coaching program that is being very successful, and there are reasons in her chart and in her design that works really well for her. The second person, she had markers in her human design chart that really wanted, like she wanted to be experimental, experiential, right? She wanted to not just coach and talk at people and tell them, help them work through how to love themselves. She wanted to immerse them into the types of activities that she loves to do, that for herself as self-care, as loving herself, and also create those experiences. But she wasn't doing that. She was actually not only shying away from that, but because it felt like so much work, quote unquote, or something that not a lot of people did, or didn't feel like as easy as some of the other things, even though she absolutely loved this, it didn't fit the normal mold of most of the people around her. And she's like, that I'll push that off for later. I'll do that when, right? There was a lot of like, when, then this. When this happens, then I can do that. And learning about her chart, talking to her about this, and like really pointing that out, it was like an instant flip of, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to truly dive in and own this and see what happens. And it takes bravery to do both of these things, right? One is to pivot and redirect yourself to be more in alignment. The other one is to fully lean in, even if you are moving in alignment, but maybe just need some tweaks to really amplify what you're doing and expand into the next level. And I share this with you because these two women have the same incarnation cross. There's a lot of differences in their chart otherwise, but they are still fulfilling their life purpose and getting paid to do so. Because when they started to not only create offers from that place of fulfilling their life purpose, of using their human design to get the nuances all figured out, but also then talking about this thing, they loved what they were creating, what they were promoting, what they were selling so much that people were magnetized, attracted to them, wanted to pay them, sometimes even before, right, they were putting it out there, because they were so like radiant in what they were putting out there and what they were saying. They were vibrating at a higher level because they were fulfilling their life purpose. They were being in alignment with their design. They were very specifically focusing in on how they can incorporate their life purpose into their business. And the magic that comes from this, y'all, this is something I want for all of you to experience if you haven't, because it doesn't feel icky. It doesn't feel slimy. That's something that I remember in those stories I shared with you about knocking on people's doors, like, reflecting back, I felt icky and slimy or bad, like bad asking or telling people about what I was selling, asking them for money, because first of all, it wasn't aligned for me, but also my connection to that season of my life, to what I was doing, it didn't have anything to do with what I was meant to do. And as a spiritual entrepreneur, as a person who deeply wants to impact the world in a positive way, which I could have in any of those jobs, learning my own incarnation cross, learning my own human design, and understanding how the life experiences that I have had very specifically have led me to doing what I'm doing now. Like, that is so beautiful. And the same thing for the clients that I've worked with and all of you out there that have been listening to this podcast, even if you take little bits and pieces. All the time I hear people talk about how they have this validation from what they learn about their human design, and starting to understand how to apply it in their business gives them the freedom to not have to do it someone else's way. But let's just take a step back here for a second and understand that what might work for one person doesn't work for another. And that's okay, right? We are all unique through our human design, and the ways that you can get paid through your business, the ways that you can get paid, period, right? All of that is, there's so many variations. And so what I have been doing through the Aligned Business Blueprint program, through the work that I do with my clients, is really helping people understand, how do you take your incarnation cross, your human design, every little piece of your puzzle, right? Of your personal puzzle, and how do you build your business based on that? Because you can sell anything. You can get paid to do the same thing in a corporate job. You can, right? Like, do whatever it is that you just truly desire, but choosing to do the thing that's most in alignment with you often means that you are going against the grain of what you've been taught throughout your life in different ways. And that is scary, because I just said that 192 different incarnation crosses. There are so many variations within human design, 12 profiles, right? There's 5 types. There's so many like little nuances that the probability of another person having exactly the same thing that you do, as well as the same experiences as you, is very small. So how can we assume that when all of these like cookie cutter things that we learn, whether that's in the local world or in the online space, and not even to say that cookie cutter is bad, but what matters is to know how to infuse your unique essence into that, your unique purpose into that, your unique design into that, so that maybe you take the pieces that you like, but then you don't take what you don't like, add in different things, make it your own, being really intentional of how you are building not only an individual offer, but the whole structure of your business, so that you can do this for a long time. Because I presume that you're not going into entrepreneurship to like try this out for a year and see what happens, that you truly are committed to what it is that you want to take. And so we need to be serious and intentional about how we build that. And when you're out there, truly living into your incarnation cross, truly living into your human design, and fulfilling what you have been designed to do, what your purpose is in this lifetime, then that is when all of the things align. The universe gets behind you, your energy changes, your business starts to shift, because we have been intentional on how we build our businesses that still have to operate in the 3D world that we're all used to. but we are showing up differently and we are being noticed differently because what we are doing is different than everybody else versus trying to be like everybody else, even people who are successful, because that's not the way that we're meant to do it. Their success and their journey is different than ours. And the way that you are going to be successful is by having that unique plan, that aligned business plan in conjunction with your incarnation cross, with your human design. And so, if you are interested in learning how you can do this and how I can support you, I encourage you to jump on a business alignment call. The Aligned Business Blueprint program starts at the end of August. And y'all, this is something that brings together that practical business strategy, the foundation of building a business, which is your business plan, and infuses your human design into it to build that custom plan to who you truly are, to what you are meant to do. Because that, my friends, is how you get paid. It's bringing together the practical pieces, the spiritual pieces, and building something that is unique to you that you are meant to do. So I encourage you to jump on to one of those business alignment calls so we can really look at your business and see how we can get it more aligned with your human design so you can start creating more magic, so that you can start being in more alignment and you can start getting paid for truly fulfilling your life purpose. All right, friends, until next time, cheers to your success.